For years, Manchester United approached every transfer window the same way. Find the biggest problem in the squad, sign an expensive player, and hope everything falls into place. Sometimes it worked for a while. Most of the time, it didn't. So when reports emerged that United were pushing to sign Éderson, most fans assumed it was another typical Manchester United transfer. A talented midfielder, another promise, and another rebuild. But then, United walked away. At first, it looked like they had simply missed out on another target. Fans started criticizing the club. Walking away from Éderson looked like another failed transfer. But what if it was actually Manchester United's smartest decision in years? Over the past 3 to 4 years, Manchester United have been trying to answer one question. What kind of team do we actually want to be? Different managers brought different ideas. Then came another change, bringing another vision. The problem wasn't just the managers, it was the recruitment. One manager would sign players for his system. A year later, a new manager would arrive with completely different ideas. The result was a squad full of talented footballers who didn't really fit together. Every summer felt like a fresh start, but nothing really changed. Instead of building one team over several years, United kept building half a team before starting all over again. And that's exactly what INEOS wanted to change. Because rather than asking, who should we sign? They started by asking, why has this squad failed for so long? For years, United's recruitment was reactive. They bought players because a manager wanted them. Today, it feels like the managers are working around the recruitment plan instead. When INEOS arrived, they weren't just looking for better players. They were looking for the right profiles. Instead of chasing the biggest names, they focused on players who solved specific problems. You could already see that in last summer's business. Matheus Cunha added aggression, versatility, and the ability to carry the ball through pressure. Bryan Mbeumo brought goals, pace, and relentless work rate from wide areas. Benjamin Šeško gave United something they had lacked for years, a striker who could stretch defenses, attack space, and grow into one of Europe's top forwards. And Senne Lammens wasn't signed to grab headlines. He was signed because modern football demands goalkeepers who are comfortable with the ball and can grow with the team over the next decade. Look at those signings together, and a pattern starts to appear. They all share the same profile. Young, athletic players with room to improve. And most importantly, they fit the same footballing idea. For the first time in years, United weren't buying opportunities. They were building a squad with a clear direction. So, at the start of this summer window, Manchester United were about to sign Éderson. On paper, Éderson looked like the perfect signing. Powerful, technically gifted, comfortable in possession. Exactly the kind of midfielder many United fans wanted. So why walk away? Because this wasn't about whether Éderson was a good player. It was about value. Reports suggested that Éderson was not 100% fit, and United reached a point where they felt the deal no longer made sense. In previous years, Manchester United might have panicked. They might have paid whatever it took simply because they'd already invested weeks into the transfer. That's exactly how they ended up with players not fully fit or ready. This time, they did something different. They accepted that no player is bigger than the project. Instead of forcing a deal, they backed their recruitment process. It was a decision that frustrated some fans in the moment, but it also showed something United supporters haven't seen very often over the last decade: discipline. And that discipline quickly led them towards another opportunity. Walking away from Éderson didn't mean United had given up on signing a midfielder. It meant they were waiting for the right opportunity. That opportunity arrived in the form of Andrey Santos. At first glance, some fans questioned the move. Why sign a young midfielder with limited Premier League experience instead of pushing for a more established name? But if you look at what INEOS have been trying to build, the decision starts to make a lot more sense. Santos is only 22, but he already has the qualities modern midfielders need. He's comfortable receiving the ball under pressure, he covers ground well, he's aggressive in duels, and, perhaps most importantly, he's still developing. United weren't just looking for someone who could improve the starting 11 today. They were looking for someone who could become an important part of the team for the next 5 or 6 years. That's been the biggest shift in their recruitment. Instead of asking, who's the biggest name available, they're asking, who fits the project? And Santos fits it perfectly. He's young enough to improve, athletic enough to match the intensity United want, and versatile enough to play different roles in midfield depending on the opposition. Will he start every game? Probably not. But that's exactly the point. Every successful squad needs players who can step in without the level dropping dramatically. Manchester City have built title-winning teams with depth. Liverpool did the same under Klopp. For years, United relied too heavily on a small group of players. INEOS seemed determined to change that, but they weren't finished yet. Because then came the move that surprised almost everyone. And that was Youri Tielemans. Not because he's the flashiest signing, not because he's the most expensive, but because of the value. For a reported fee of around €35 million, United managed to sign one of the Premier League's most experienced midfielders at a price that many fans simply didn't expect. A few years ago, this deal would probably have cost a lot more. Instead, United stayed patient, waited for the right moment, and struck when the opportunity presented itself. That's smart business. And Tielemans brings qualities this midfield has been missing. He's calm under pressure. He can dictate the tempo of a game. He progresses the ball with intelligent passing rather than forcing risky plays. And unlike previous windows, this signing doesn't feel like it's carrying the weight of rebuilding the entire midfield on its own. He's joining a squad that's being built piece by piece. That's the difference. Every player now has a role. Every signing has a purpose. Instead of collecting talented individuals and hoping they'll figure it out, United are putting together a squad where each profile complements the others. And that's exactly how the best-run clubs operate. For years, Manchester United's transfer windows were judged by one question: did they sign the biggest name? This summer, that question feels different. Now it's, does this player fit the plan? Walking away from Éderson showed discipline. Signing Andrey Santos showed they're willing to invest in the future. And bringing in Tielemans for the right price showed they're finally looking for value instead of headlines. Will every signing work? Time will tell. But after years of reacting to the market, Manchester United finally look like they're controlling it. And if they continue making decisions like these, the trophies won't be bought, they'll be built.